welcome to Good Game, the show for gamers by gamers. I'm Barjo.
And I'm Hex.
Hex, I love sandbox games, especially when they let you get up to as many shenanigans as we did in Saints Row the Third.
We also web-sling our way through Spider-Man Edge of Time.
And Goose will shed some light on Euclideon, Aussie-developed 3D graphics technology that could change the future of gaming.
But before all that, can you guess the game for this week?
What could it be?
9 years ago, raiders attacked Sarai. To save my village, I unleashed the demon, and the demon massacred all in its path. The raiders, my friends, my family.
Before we go read the news, Hex, why don't you take a look at these? They're the first entries to win our life-size Batman competition. Hi, Bats.
Well, these are great. Hang on, why am I dressed as Princess Leia in a slave outfit in this one? Well, there's still some time to get some comics in because entries don't close until Monday the 14th of November.
Yes, and all the details are on the website, so hurry up or you'll miss out. Better go read the news, Hex.
Nintendo is on track to post its first annual loss since it entered the video game market 30 years ago. The company's half-yearly financial results reveal a massive drop in sales revenue, with a net loss of almost $871 million. The poor results are considered to be largely due to slowing sales of the Wii and DS, the dramatic price cut to the 3DS, and fluctuating exchange rates against the strong yen. One of the year's biggest releases has been in the hands of unscrupulous gamers for several weeks after the PC version of Modern Warfare 3 was stolen from a Californian shipping warehouse and leaked online. Activision has been vigorous in its attempts to halt the spread of the game, with investigators in the United States tracking down pirates and asking them to destroy their copies or face fines of over $5,000.
If I decide to wage war, it will end with extinction.
2 Human and X-Men Destiny developer Silicon Knights has been hit with huge layoffs, with 45 staff, almost half their studio, losing their jobs. The studio's chief financial officer, Mike Mays, blamed a cancelled project for the cutbacks.
Good game! Spider-Man's last adventure, Shattered Dimensions, was a well-constructed game where you got to bounce between 4 different versions of Spidey and face off against some of his biggest villains. Now the old web head is back in Edge of Time.
You had no reason.
I didn't need a reason, other than to make it easier to kill you.
O'Hara, it looks like you called it.
The mad scientist Walker Sloan has built a time-traveling Stargate thingy to go back in time from the 2099 universe and take over the world with his knowledge of the future. This creates an alternate timeline where the Amazing Spider-Man dies and Sloan's company rules the world, leaving it up to future Spidey to set things right. So he somehow establishes some kind of time-defying walkie-talkie system with Amazing Spidey and warns him that he needs to fix the timeline in order to save himself. Well, and the world, I guess.
It might sound confusing, but it's a decent setup. The fate of the world and Spidey is hanging by a temporal thread, so cue exciting adventure, right? Well, not quite. There are some nice moments, but overall there just isn't much drama here. The villains especially feel like they're there just for the sake of adding in a couple of boss fights. And the plot uses the weakest elements of time travel. It's overly convenient.
A transitional Einstein-Rosen bridge.
You mean a wormhole?
Yeah, crazy as it sounds, I can use it to get to the Parascience Research Lab faster.
And mostly total nonsense.
Did you fire up the quark enhancers? Activate the tachyon relays?
Yes, I did all that. No, you just...
Uncouple the Heisenberg compensators.
Yes, of course I did. Oh, shuck it, no, I didn't.
And every time there's a giant plot hole that needs explaining, they just say something like this.
You want a 2-hour lecture on the laws of quantum dynamics? No? Then trust me, it won't be visible here until you do it there.
Oh, time travel makes my head hurt.
Yeah, it's a bit cheap, but even so, the cheesy storyline is kind of the best bit of the game, and I did like the little interchanges between the two Spideys.
Just trust me, okay?
Trust me, says the voice in my head. You know, this is how serial killers get started.
But otherwise, this is really just another run-of-the-mill button-mashy brawler set in a series of repeated and uninteresting environments. You'll constantly bounce back and forth between playing as Amazing Spider-Man and Spidey 2099, but they're both running around the same building doing the same things. Destroying a reactor here, grabbing some keys there, and they don't really play that differently from each other.
Yeah, it's pretty much just fight the goons in this room, move on to the next room, fight those goons. And, you know, I can put up with an average game like this if the combat is interesting, because I love superhero games, but sadly, it's been nerfed. There's still your basic light, heavy, ranged and grapple attacks, but there's no counters and less special moves. You can make Amazing Spider-Man super fast, so he's impossible to hit for a short period. Or when you're Spidey 2099, you can leave a decoy to distract enemies. And there's a time bubble that stops enemies in their tracks too. The big problem with this is you never have to think about what you're actually doing, so you can just mash X and build up ridiculous combos without even trying.
You'll collect XP from goons and orbs around the world, which let you upgrade your health and unlock new moves. But you don't ever feel the need to actually do any upgrading. I did like the challenges are back though. They'll pop up occasionally and reward you extra XP for clearing rooms in a certain amount of time, or for not getting hit more than a few times. They give you something more to do, so you'll give them a go even if you don't care about the XP rewards that much.
I think the thing that really hurts this game more than anything else is that you actually don't feel much like Spider-Man. There's almost no need to web sling except to get down corridors quicker. In fairness, Shattered Dimensions, the swinging wasn't a huge part of it, but you still felt like Spidey. But here, it's almost like he could have been someone else. And the camera doesn't help things either.
It's not a long game either, about 7 or so hours for the story and no co-op or multiplayer to invest in afterwards. You do unlock hard mode once you finish the campaign, but there's really not that much incentive for a second playthrough.
You know, this kind of reminded me of The Force Unleashed 2 a little bit. It just kept popping into my mind, and I think it's because that game had a strong universe to build from, a great previous game, but then somehow it just managed to hit all the wrong notes. Plus, it also had a lot of falling down sections.
You can tell developer Beanox has a lot of love for Spider-Man.
Next thing you know, there'll be a musical about him with a chorus line of dancing Spider-Man.
And the game has some good presentation, but the gameplay just isn't there to back it up. And maybe hardcore Spider-Man fans will be able to look past that shallow gameplay and really enjoy this. But for me, my cruddy game senses were tingling all through this, so I'm giving it 5 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Obviously, this isn't in the same league as Batman Arkham City, but if you look at the core design of both of these games, and in Arkham City, you know, you felt like Batman because it played to the strengths and the weaknesses of that character, and that worked in the gameplay too. Here, this Spider-Man could have been anyone. He's just thrown into a room with a bunch of goons over and over again, and it's such a shame. Spidey deserves better. We need Spider-Man to grow up, so I'm giving it 5 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Good game.
So Hex, what questionables are there for us to answer this week?
Well, how about this one from Grendel in Glenelg, South Australia? Glenelg. Hey, good game. I loved Barjo's review of Dark Souls and got the game, but it's kicking my ass. Please, Master Barjo, I need guidance. Also, I really don't understand how humanity works. Thanks.
I am more than happy to help out a fellow Dark Souls sufferer. Let's start with humanity. Firstly, you need to absorb humanity you're carrying in order to spend it. You crush it in your hand, and a number appears in the top left to show you how much humanity is now in you. At a bonfire, you can then spend that humanity to become fully human again, which gives you benefits such as being able to summon NPCs before boss fights, or being able to kindle fires to increase the number of sips you get from your Easter's flask. Otherwise, you can just stay hollow and work on stacking those humanity points to a high number, which increases your discovery rate for sweet gear and your resistance to curses. Also, when you're human, you can summon other people into your world, which will be able to help you with boss fights. And a tip which will really help you get through that early game is to obtain the super powerful Drake Sword. To get it, you have to snipe the tail off the red kite dragon from underneath the bridge that leads to the Undead Parish. It takes a bunch of arrows, but the sword spawns directly in your inventory where you're standing. It's pretty overpowered for those early areas, so it's massively helpful, and you'll probably keep it until about 20-30 hours into the game, and then you want to think about upgrading. Good luck, Grendel, and stick with it, because that game is so rewarding. Once you get past that initial tough point, it just, Alright, Hex, time for one more question.
Alright, well, how about this one from Moddables in Perth?
Souls. Need more souls.
Hey guys, I was inspired to get back into modding some of my games, but I'd like more than just updated textures and lighting effects. Are there any good total conversions out there that you could recommend? Well, there are tons of total conversions out there, but one I was really impressed with recently is Third Age Total War. It turns medieval Total War 2 into a Lord of the Rings game, and it actually feels like a commercial product. There's an epic campaign with all the units you'd expect from Tolkien's universe, and it all looks and sounds spot on.
I was quite impressed by the Zelda Adventure total conversion for Minecraft. It's not 100% complete yet, but it's pretty good. I mean, it's Zelda in Minecraft. Double win. And there's also a MechWarrior Living Legends conversion for Crisis Wars. That's pretty pretty good though, it just makes me want a new MechWarrior game even more.
And that's all the time we have for this week. High five, Badge. Yeah. Good job.
Good game.
Graphics in games have come a long way, but they still don't quite have that level of complexity that you might see in an animated 3D movie, for example.
Well, an Aussie company has developed a new tech which might bridge that gap and completely change the way video game graphics will be developed in the future.
Field reporter Goose takes a look. Video game graphics have long been the best way to define each generation of games. From the pixelated universe of Pac-Man to awe-inspiring vistas in a game like Crysis, graphics are constantly advancing, but they've always been limited by hardware technology.
At the moment, in games, everything are made of these little flat things called polygons, and the more polygons you have, the slower your computer runs. So we've gone about making 3D graphics in a very different way, where we've taken the polygons, we've smashed them up into little atoms, we've built like a search algorithm like Google or Yahoo search algorithms, and these search algorithms are looking for exactly one little atom for every pixel on the screen. If we look here at the ground, this is the ground from Bulletstorm, and you're seeing about 10 to 20 polygons per square meter. If we look at the unlimited detail ground, then we're seeing 20 million polygons. So we're looking at a pretty big jump forward when it comes to processing power. At the moment, if you're familiar with the model swap technique, the only way forward for polygons is to keep building different size models at different distances and swap them over. So for games developers, that's one of their big problems at the moment. They have to just keep rebuilding the same model for the backgrounds numerous times. Unlimited detail totally frees the artists. They now have no polygon budget whatsoever. They make what they want as much as they want. They only make it once. So that's going to speed up game development by quite a lot.
After the initial demo video of Euclideon Island was released online in August this year, the internet became abuzz with both worshippers and skeptics. This news also attracted the attention of some of the biggest names in the games industry, many of whom expressed concern about the actual ability of this software.
If you're in an industry where the polygon count increases by 20% a year slowly, and somebody suddenly shows you 20 million polygons per square meter when our games are showing 10 polygons per square meter on the grass, then that's pretty unbelievable. And I think there's a bit of wisdom in if it's too good to be true, most of the time it's not. Okay, so what we're looking at here is Euclideon Island running on a laptop. So this is all software alone, and you can see now as we zoom down into the island.
And so you scanned every one of these objects in to build the island?
Yes, we had only 3 weeks before Gamescom. So we ran down to the river with our buckets and we collected about 20 things, rocks and sticks, and I got the elephant at a store nearby. And we scanned them all in really quickly and made a demo in 3 weeks. Okay, so this particular tree is 40 million polygons, which is often what they use in, well, normally that's the count that you'd use in your whole level. And it's used in one tree here. For a while, we had a problem of we didn't actually know where we were going to get content that would give justice to the unlimited power side. Eventually, we found that laser scanned objects are so high in detail, they're like millions or hundreds of millions of little facets. And so we started using laser scan stuff.
This here is our large-scale scanning box, and as you may recognise, this is the elephant that we had in our first demo video. There's a few different ways to scan an object and get it into the computer, but the main benefit that we have is once we've scanned the object, we can then view it in the computer in real time. This is our elephant from before, and he's been converted into polygons. And we do that so that we can seal up the mesh and also so that we can edit him.
Great, so after it's all sealed up, what's the next step in the process?
The next step, I hand this over to Jonathan and he converts it back into atoms.
So, Jonathan, we've seen the models get scanned. What happens when they get to you?
I take those models and I convert them into our atom-based format. I also take other industry standard 3D files and convert them into our atom-based format as well.
So that means you can use any other models that get made in any other program?
Yeah, if you can create it in the standard modelling packages, then we can load it up in our engine.
The Australian gaming industry has hit an all-time low with the closure of so many studios. But with government grants for the development of technologies like unlimited detail, we may very well see a brand new direction for the industry.
If we're to have any future here in Australia technologically, it can't be trying to just make games. It's got to be as the developers of the technologies that are used in games. Once unlimited detail is ready to go, and once we release real-time demonstrations to the public, there still will be a gap of time before the first games come out using it. And we're certainly moving for some time next year.
Without seeing any real-world applications of unlimited detail, we still have no idea if the technology will ultimately work with video games. However, hopes are high that if it is successful, it may bring about a resurgence in the Aussie games industry. We just might have to wait until 2012 to find out.
Good game.
In Saints Row the Third, everything and everyone is collateral damage.
After successfully taking over the city of Stillwater, the Saints' popularity and brand has exploded. Billboards are everywhere, they have their own energy drink, and people stop them in the street for autographs, even in the midst of battle.
But it's not easy being at the top, it just makes you a bigger target.
Nobody moves! Nobody dies!
Sorry, jumped his line. Can we go again?
After a bank heist goes wrong, you find yourself in the city of Steelport, facing rival gangs and a military force who have lasers. This is an industrial city with factories, big skyscrapers, and maniacs with rocket launchers. Hex, when I first brought up that map of the city, it just looks like Grand Theft Auto 4's map, and also that music. But Saints Row isn't a gritty sandbox where you pay tolls and go bowling. This is more an absurdist parody of every other Grand Theft Auto game put together.
Yeah, and one of the biggest differences between those two franchises is that here you get to live out your wildest character customization fantasies, which I love. My character ended up like a strangely attractive Russian Alice Cooper fan in a suit.
It is good to see you.
There's an almost endless supply of facial tweaks, from eyelids to reptilian makeup, and there's stacks of gestures and taunts, skinny and fat sliders, skin colours that include metallic yellow and green, and even a sex appeal slider.
I went for a modest 72 on that one.
There are stacks of voices to choose from, and most of our favourites are back from Saints Row 2, with one notable addition, the zombie.
We need some driving music. Early in the morning, rising to the bed. Lighting up that cigarette and I strap shoes on my feet.
I love the zombie voice. It's endlessly funny that everyone can understand him, but you can't actually work out what he's saying because he's just mumbling.
The crew's ready downstairs. Say the word and we crash the party.
Once you've created your character, it's time to go clothes shopping.
I seriously worry about your costume choices, Barjo. It's quite an achievement that all of these clothes fit so well with no clipping on all of the body types we tried. There's just something about seeing these crazy characters and cutscenes that not only makes this a very individual experience, but it just makes that main character seem even more insane than they already are.
Whoa. I don't see a bed.
Sleep is forbidden.
What the f did the Deckers do to the chopper?
It also surprises me how well made these cutscenes are for a game that embraces silly so much. The whole presentation is good, actually, with great music on those radio stations, but it's the music that complements the action and the missions that's really awesome.
All right, you're clear.
Yeah, and how good is that first mission? In the first hour, you'll rip a vault out of a bank, get kidnapped, parachute out of a plane,
You're getting under my skin.
shoot the window out of a plane coming towards you, kill everyone in it, then fly out the back again while killing goons in midair until you land in Steelport. Ugh.
Yeah, there's a lot of work put into those first couple of missions, and straight away you realise how much better this looks than the last game. There's a floppy, cartoony feel to the world and the character models, which you especially notice riding the sidewalk. All the models just look more solid, with better animations in general. The cars look better too, with improved wacky physics, which makes for some excellent crashes.
And the cars handle so well with just enough punishment and just enough finesse you can do with that drift to make it around corners better. And as you zoom around, you'll notice how smooth this world is. I wouldn't call it beautiful, but there's a lot on screen at once, and there's good draw distance with a nice amount of detail. One thing that always bugged me about Saints Row 2 is you'd be on the street, you look one way, you see a bunch of cars and people, you look right, and then you look back and some of it was gone or all of it was gone, and it just kind of broke the world a bit for me, but they fixed that here. It feels like a proper world.
Yeah, and getting in and out of cars is something you'll do a lot in Saints Row the Third, and here you actually have a quick hijack. This lets you leap into vehicles instantly, and this also sums up the developer's approach to an open world, which is that it doesn't want to waste your time, and it tries to keep things as fun and as fast as possible. Developer Volition does a really good job of keeping gameplay streamlined.
The AI is a bit hit and miss though. Sometimes your teammates will take quite a while to get into your car, and the enemy AI tend to stand out in the open and sometimes they won't notice you. There's no cover system here, so they don't have that many options to what they could do, but still they don't feel quite sentient at times. Also, when you're fighting these guys, there's usually only about 2 or 3 types of models that you're fighting, which can't help but feel a bit out of place in a game with such wonderful customization to your own character.
There's a great selection of weapons too, from standard guns to pew-pew lasers. It's really important that you go to the gun shops for these weapon upgrades, because the first level of each weapon becomes pretty useless once you're a few hours into the game.
I like the dualies very much, and they're a very powerful upgrade that you should absolutely get as soon as you can. But there's also lots of big weapons, such as the rocket launcher.
That worked out well.
The mind control launcher squid thing.
Officer requesting cover fire.
Remote controlled vehicles. But the Reaper drones are the most fun and our personal favourite.
But while I thought the majority of the controls in the game were excellent, that weapon select radial menu was annoyingly fiddly to use, and quite often I'd select the wrong gun or no weapon at all in the heat of battle.
I really enjoyed the gunplay, but I just found there wasn't enough to differentiate from the standard machine guns and pistols to the assault rifle, you know? Like in GTA 4, you really felt the difference between those two, but here, I don't know, they just felt like they were lacking some oomph, so I'd just go through one until I had no ammo, then go to the next one. I love the melee system though, Hex. It's just simple and it works. You can do a quick attack in the middle of combat, but you can also crash tackle an enemy for a human shield. And by pushing the button they're touting the awesome button, you'll take down an enemy in a more stylish way.
The story missions in Saints Row the Third are all really varied. They range from exciting base infiltrations, ambushes, jet missions, and lots of other crazy stuff which we won't spoil for you.
You've never seen kinky before.
I like how these missions try and give you what you want. You know, if you think, oh, I want to be able to do this, it tries to let you do it. Such as the Tron-like PC infiltration mission, which even has a text-based section. There's some clever stuff in there, and at the end it gives you a pixelated tank to take out into the world. Great stuff.
But the best part is you can play all of this in co-op, and the missions we played together mostly worked well.
Yeah, there's no versus multiplayer this time, but to be honest, I don't think that'll be missed that much because it wasn't that great in Saints Row 2. But there is a new mode called Horde mode, which is basically a wave mode where you face off against various enemies of different sizes and shapes, and they come wave and wave at a time, and it changes things up, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's horribly unbalanced, but undeniably fun. I mean, we had a great time playing together, and I let out many a girly scream as those tiny zombies swarmed us.
They just kept coming. Get off.
They give me nightmares.
But Hex, we should talk about the giant purple dildo and how this game approaches violence.
Yeah, this is a very crude game, and I have to say I really wrestled with my morals on this one and what I consider to be possibly appropriate in a game like this. On one hand, I get the same maniacal joy of being an idiot, running people over and enjoying all of that silly humour the same as anyone else. And I also get that this is a particular genre that is about crossing the line, while not taking itself too seriously. However, I can't help but ask myself what kind of a person is okay with grabbing a woman by the hair and face slamming her into the pavement?
Yeah, the stuff you can do to civilians in this game is pretty full on, and the punishment for doing it isn't really that great. The cops turn up, but it's not really much of a threat, and it doesn't feel like a penalty. I'm kind of okay with doing that stuff to the enemies. You know, they're the enemies and it's kind of wacky the way you take them down. I understand that, but the civilians, I don't know. The core of this game is to make everything funny, and you get that in the ragdoll as you run people over in your car. I find this violence less affecting than Grand Theft Auto 4, for example, because Grand Theft Auto 4 is so real, but this, it's all wacky, and so it doesn't bother me personally as much. And you do have the choice whether you want to do it in both of these games. That choice is there for you to make.
Yeah, but in GTA 4 it's treated like a real crime, whereas here I feel it's just glorified with those special moves. I mean, does that choice even need to be in there? And with that giant purple dildo, I mean, it just feels like lowest common denominator kind of humor. I mean, it's not funny.
Yeah, it comes down to choice again with that, though, because because, I found personally myself, I used that dildo once and then I didn't like it. It was silly, and so I just went back to the baseball bat and I never used it again.
Yeah, but it's still there. I feel like the game is wanting me to use it, and it even pops up again in horde mode, so you can't escape the dildo. And I mean, is this really the direction we want our industry to be going in?
I guess it's all about that personal line and where do you draw that line about what offends you and what doesn't. I mean, then you have to, if we start talking about should this be in the game or not, then we have to say, should we put restrictions on what developers can make, and won't that limit creative freedom?
Well, I think it's a bit lofty to call that a creative choice. I mean, isn't it just crude on purpose?
But being crude is their creative choice. That's the choice. It may not be one that people like, but it's still their creative choice to do so.
No one likes it when you shoot a panel. Unethical.
All in all, I didn't have a problem with the content in this game, except for one mission where you have to rescue a bunch of prostitutes who are trapped in crates on a boat. You then get the choice to make these prostitutes your own for long-term cash flow, or you can get a quick sell and sell them back to the people you stole them from. And I just thought that mission on its own is quite abhorrent. And on the boat, some of the crates, which are marked by objective markers, actually have fisting machines in them. I mean, come on, that just crossed the line for me.
Yeah, I'm so torn with this one, Barjo, and I almost feel hypocritical because there's certain things that I'm absolutely fine doing and other things that I just find completely unacceptable. And, I don't want to be a prude, but some of that sexual and degrading stuff, the game just took it too far and it really put a dampener on my personal experience. I mean, what's next? Violence against children? Would that be okay in a game like this because it's not meant to be taken seriously and so it gets a free pass?
Well, I think we can both agree that this is definitely an adult game that should be played by adults.
Yeah, I think we can definitely agree on that.
But we should wrap this up. Final thoughts?
Look, despite all my qualms, I had an enormous amount of fun with this, and I genuinely laughed out loud through most of it. So I guess if you can get past those few tasteless elements that just take things a bit too far, then this is definitely worth an 8 out of 10.
I did find some of the side missions a bit repetitive and dull because I'd done them all before in Saints Row 2, but even so, Saints Row the Third is greater than the sum of its parts, and I had a great time with it. I'm giving it 8.5 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Safety deposit keys. Now, don't you want to know what it is they all got locked up? Well, I guess then you better watch my back.
Good game.
So did you guess the game for this week? It was the PS2 and PC game Summoner, released back in 2000. This magical role-playing adventure was developed by Volition, who also brought us Saints Row the Third.
Summoner was a pretty good game, but I think the best thing about it was the D&D Easter egg you unlocked when you finished the game.
I'm gonna get a soda. Anyone want one? Hey, Graham, I'm not in the room, right?
What room? I want to cast Magic Missile.
A room where he's casting all these spells from.
He hasn't cast anything yet. I am, though, if you'd listen. I'm casting Magic Missile.
Why are you casting Magic Missile? There's nothing to attack here.
I'm attacking the darkness.
Fine.
Next week on the show...
What?
Guess... It's Ezio and Altair back in Assassin's Creed Revelations. Oh, come on!
I thought you were going to say Minecraft. And RB Dragons, and one of the biggies, The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim.
Oh my god, I'm going to collect me so much Nern root. Oh, and don't forget to get your competition entries in to win Batman over there. Until next time, gamers, Hex out.
Barjo out.
Dragons and assassins and stuff.